Hi, everyone. I'm Evelyn Prim, the Communications Coordinator for the city, and I'm here with Carol Plante. And Carol is the Director of the Montpelier Community Justice Center, and she is going to run through the FY25 budget for the CJC. So I will share our screen, and we will get right to it.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to share our budget information for fiscal year 25 with you. Can go to the next slide, please. Start by, that's the agenda. You can read that. I don't need to share anything there, but I will start by just describing who is on our team. So as you can see in our organizational chart, as the director, I report to our city manager, and we get funding from the Department of Corrections and collaborate with them. And then we have the Community Advisory Board that helps to inform our strategic plan and how we go about our work. And that's all people from the community, so we appreciate their voices. And then we have 3 other positions. The Restorative Outreach Specialist is 0.375 FTE. So only 12 hours a week, but does outreach to people who've been affected by crime and other incidents. And our restorative programs coordinator runs our restorative justice panels, family group conferences, and other types of conferencing in order to resolve issues around crime. And then our reentry and transitional housing specialist is 0.9 FTE. Alfred Mills has been in the position for about 14 years. So he works with all of our folks coming out of jail who need extra support to stay on track. And then we have between 50 and 60 volunteers at any given time. That includes our Community Advisory Board, and they're really the ones who implement the processes that we do and serve on the teams that support the people we work with. So these are the programs that we have under the Department of Corrections funding, the restorative justice panels, transitional housing. We have 2 apartments in Montpelier where we house people coming out of jail. The circles of support and accountability are volunteers that work with those folks who are coming out of jail and also who need extra support. The conflict assistance program is where we do mediation for people who need it to resolve their own conflicts within the community. And then the restorative outreach to affected parties, again, is Ava Zimmett is the person who does that work, and she supports our folks who have been affected by crime, either where there is a criminal charge or there may not be a criminal charge. So she does outreach to support them and find resources for them as needed. Then we have community forums and education. So we provide opportunities for people to come together to talk about how they're impacted by crime and other incidents and help them resolve on their own or find ways to make things better in the community. And I'll just mention that our restorative programs coordinator, Rick Pereira, is very new. He's only been on the team for 2 weeks, and he's doing a great job. We're lucky to have him on board. The last program that we have is our Parenting with Respect class, and that is funding that we get from the Vermont Domestic Violence Council. That program has been in operation since 2014, and the curriculum was written by Yvonne Bird, my predecessor. And we just this year applied for funding and received funding, $27,000 a year, to implement this class that we run 4 times a year. And this class is for men whose children are involved in DCF or who have been targeted as having some issues around their parenting skills. So we support them in doing that. And many also have connection to the criminal justice system. So services and constraints, we have reduced the restorative programs coordinator position to 0.6 FTE from 0.75 due to budget constraints, basically. So our salaries increase, and as our salaries increase, which is appropriate, we're finding ourselves needing to do the same work with a fewer hours, and we may have some flexibility in changing that and restoring those hours because of the funding that we're getting from the Domestic Violence Council. So that money is going to support my salary, basically, to oversee that program. So we may be able to change that. We have reduced capacity for the conflict assistance program as a result of not having enough hours not being able to increase Ava's hours in her position, and just the limited ability for me to do my job and offer a lot of mediation services, which can be time consuming. We have a limited ability to provide services. Again, not be able to increase Ava's hours from 12 hours a week, and there aren't a lot of opportunities for funding there. But we're able to keep up with the needs that we have in the community thus far. So we're net neutral budgets because everything is grant funded that we do, and just to make note that we are really grateful for the in-kind support that the city provides for us. Being a department of the city is a real advantage for us. The funding from the DOC currently is slated to revert back to fiscal year 23 base grant amount, which is an 8.4% decrease. And that is a result of the Justice Reinvestment 2 supplemental funding is allocated by the legislature. So they're the ones who make the determination, and our budget increased for fiscal year 24 based on the decision that was made by the legislature to have additional funding go to the community justice centers. And that is always uncertain until the legislature determines what the budget is going to be, and so we don't know that from year to year until in the spring sometime. We also have been told by the Department of Corrections that they want to continue to give us a cost of living increase, and again, that's uncertain at this time. The transitional housing budget, we were given a 3.7 increase for fiscal year 24, and again, there's no saying whether they'll revert to fiscal year 23 funding or decrease our allocation. Vermont Domestic Violence Council funding, we anticipate to be level funded for fiscal year 25. So this is what our expenditures look like from year to year. And, we are always looking for more funding to be able to continue to increase our programs. And this is what we have for now. So our challenges, the reduced hours of the programs coordinator. When we're reducing hours there, it means that there's an additional burden on my interaction doing direct service work. We're all pretty well coordinated and we've done some cross training together so we can cover for each other, which is really helpful to really understand what we all do in the department. But it does add increased burden on us in how we serve folks. The cost for our housing, of course, have gone up. So if we're level funded with our reentry and transitional housing, we're doing the same with less. And then we do have some flood losses. We like every other department, lost a lot. So there are costs associated with that. Because of the funding that we get from the Domestic Violence Council, that it will allow us to expand that program by training new facilitators, which will be great, and then to just expand this program statewide. There's an increase potential for in the program fees, which would help us have more unrestricted funds to have some flexibility in how we implement our programs and how we support people in our programs. And then I had some outreach from the town of Waterbury around supporting that town with restorative services specifically for an ordinance that they want to create. So there isn't potentially an opportunity. They understand that there would be a cost associated with this. So that's another opportunity that might come up for us. And then we've been doing quite a bit of work around racial literacy and DEI. And so this is a potential for continuation of building on the foundation that we're developing for our staff and volunteers, and potentially to support the rest of the city in moving that effort forward. So our contribution to the strategic plan is really around the public health and safety. So providing restorative option to continue to do that in city ordinances where appropriate and in collaboration with the folks who are in charge of those ordinances. Again, increasing referrals for a new program that we started for traffic violations. So this is an opportunity that would save Montpelier police officers the time of going to court if these referrals are successful. People would participate in a restorative option, and then the traffic ticket would be dismissed if they complete this program successfully. So that would save them time, which is a way for us to contribute and assist in that area. Providing staff training and consultation for restorative practices. So we do that, and we're available to have conversations with anybody on the city staff around how to think about using restorative process and talk about conflict resolution within departments. We're always open for that. We emphasize proactive conflict resolution practices within the communities. So we reach out to people when they're having issues, neighbor issues, for example, and make that available to folks as well. And we may be able to provide training, for example, through the senior center to do conflict resolution classes through the senior center and elsewhere. So this is the timeline. I'm guessing this is the same for all of us. So thank you for watching my presentation. You are welcome to get in touch with me anytime, and my contact information is on the website. Just go to Community Justice Center.
Great, thank you so much, Carol. As Carol mentioned, there's 2 public hearings coming up in January, so you can check out that information on our website as well in the Agenda Center. And definitely watch the other videos in this playlist so you can hear from more departments. All right, thanks again, Carol.
Thank you.
All right.